Breaking news, Marcos fires top officials over alleged China links. Good evening and welcome. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has sent shockwaves through his administration, abruptly dismissing several high-ranking officials. The reason? Alleged ties to the Chinese government. Was this a bold move to protect national security, or a politically calculated maneuver with potentially dangerous consequences? Tonight we'll unpack this developing story. We'll hear from experts, analyze the potential motives, and explore the potential global impact of this dramatic shakeup. Immediate dismissal, a purge at the highest levels. The dismissals came swiftly and without warning, a decisive blow against individuals who, until very recently, held positions of significant power within the Marcos administration. Among those removed from office were the Deputy Director of National Intelligence, the Undersecretary for Transportation Security, and a high-ranking official within the Department of Finance. Each of these individuals held positions crucial to the functioning of the Philippine government, with access to highly sensitive information. The swift removal of these individuals without the usual opportunity to resign or a phased transition of power speaks to the seriousness of the allegations and the urgency with which President Marcos has acted. It suggests a deep concern, perhaps even alarm, within the presidential palace about the potential compromise of national security. Adding to the intrigue is the lack of specific details surrounding the alleged links to China. Were these officials suspected of espionage, actively feeding sensitive information to a foreign power? Or were the concerns more about undue influence, a subtle but insidious form of pressure that could sway policy decisions in favor of Beijing? The Filipino people deserve transparency to understand the potential threat to their nation's security. Whispers of espionage, the allegations of Chinese influence. At the heart of this developing crisis are whispers of clandestine ties and covert operations. While concrete evidence remains elusive to the public, sources within the Philippine intelligence community suggest a long and complex investigation culminating in these decisive dismissals. Rumors have circulated for months, whispers of officials acting against the best interests of the Philippines, their loyalties called into question. Some sources point to intercepted communications, coded messages suggesting a flow of information from within the Philippine government to handlers believed to be operating out of the Chinese embassy in Manila. Others speak of unusual financial transactions, large sums of money moving through offshore accounts in ways that raise red flags, a potential indication of bribery or payment for sensitive information. The possibility that such information could have been compromised is deeply troubling to Philippine authorities, who are already locked in a tense standoff with Beijing over territorial claims in the region. These are not just hypothetical questions, they are the very real concerns that have gripped the Philippine government, leading to this dramatic purge of high-ranking officials. Marcos breaks his silence, justification, and government response. In the hours following the dismissals, a wave of uncertainty and speculation swept through the Philippines. The silence from the presidential palace was deafening. Then, in a late-night address to the nation, President Marcos finally broke his silence. He spoke of a breach of trust and a grave threat to national security, his words measured, each syllable heavy with significance. He stopped short of accusing China directly, but made it clear that the dismissals were the result of credible evidence of foreign interference. "Let me be clear," he stated, his gaze unwavering. "We will not tolerate any actions that undermine the sovereignty and security of the Republic of the Philippines. We will pursue all necessary measures to protect our national interests." In the wake of his address, the government sprang into action. A spokesperson for the Department of Justice announced the launch of a full-scale investigation, vowing to hold those responsible accountable to the fullest extent of the law. The armed forces of the Philippines were placed on heightened alert, their presence increased at key installations and strategic locations across the archipelago. Key allies of President Marcos within the government rallied around him, offering their unwavering support. However, not everyone was convinced. Opposition lawmakers criticized the lack of transparency, demanding a closed-door briefing to review the evidence that led to the dismissals. Beijing's fury, China's response, and diplomatic tensions. As news of the dismissals reverberated across the region, all eyes turned to Beijing. The Chinese government, never one to shy away from asserting its position on the world stage, responded with a characteristic blend of indignation and defiance. A spokesperson for the Chinese Foreign Ministry called the accusations completely fabricated and a malicious attempt to smear China's reputation. They accused the Philippines of playing with fire and warned of serious consequences if the allegations were not retracted. The Chinese ambassador to the Philippines was immediately recalled for consultations, a diplomatic move often signaling displeasure and a potential escalation of tensions. State-controlled media outlets unleashed a barrage of editorials and commentaries, accusing the Philippines of being a puppet of the United States and attempting to sow discord in the region. The South China Sea dispute, a long-standing source of friction, has flared up in recent months, with both sides accusing the other of violating maritime boundaries and engaging in provocative military activities. The potential consequences of this diplomatic spat are far-reaching. China is a major trading partner of the Philippines, and any disruption to economic ties could have significant consequences for both nations. Fortress Philippines, impact on national security and military policies. The allegations of high-level infiltration within the Philippine government have sent shockwaves through the country's security establishment, prompting a top-to-bottom review of protocols and a renewed focus on counterintelligence measures. At the Armed Forces of the Philippines headquarters in Camp Aguinaldo, lights burned late into the night as military strategists huddled over maps and intelligence reports, reassessing long-held assumptions and bracing for potential fallout. Cybersecurity experts have been brought in to assess the integrity of government networks, searching for any backdoors or vulnerabilities that might have been exploited by foreign actors. Training programs for government officials are being revamped, with a new emphasis on recognizing and resisting foreign influence, particularly attempts at bribery, blackmail, or coercion. The United States, a long-standing treaty ally of the Philippines, has expressed deep concern over the allegations of Chinese interference. The Pentagon has pledged to provide any assistance necessary to help the Philippines investigate the matter and bolster its defenses. This incident has also raised concerns among other nations in the region, particularly those who have clashed with China over territorial disputes in the South China Sea. A nation-divided public and international reactions. The news of the dismissals and the allegations of Chinese influence have sent shockwaves through Philippine society, dividing public opinion and fueling heated debates across the archipelago. On social media, a digital battleground of hashtags and fiercely worded posts, opinions are sharply divided. Some praise President Marcos for his decisive action, hailing him as a strong leader who will not hesitate to defend the nation's interests. Others express deep concern, questioning the lack of transparency and worrying about a potential erosion of democratic norms. Protests have erupted in several cities, with demonstrators waving Philippine flags and chanting slogans denouncing Chinese interference. Meanwhile, counter-protests have also emerged, with some accusing the government of manufacturing a crisis to distract from domestic issues and consolidate power. The international community is watching the unfolding drama in the Philippines with a mixture of concern and apprehension. The United States, Japan, Australia, and other democratic nations have expressed their support for the Philippines and called for a transparent investigation into the allegations. The potential for this crisis to escalate further remains very real. The Philippines finds itself caught in the middle of a geopolitical tug-of-war between the United States and China, two superpowers vying for influence in a region of critical strategic importance. The road ahead. Uncertainty and the quest for truth. The situation in the Philippines remains fluid, a complex web of accusations, denials, and geopolitical maneuvering. The truth, as is often the case in matters of espionage and international intrigue, remains elusive, shrouded in a veil of secrecy and competing narratives. What is certain is that the stakes are incredibly high. The allegations of Chinese influence strike at the very heart of Philippine sovereignty, raising profound questions about the integrity of the country's institutions and the ability of its leaders to chart an independent course. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and comment below with your thoughts. Remember, in mind matters, knowledge truly matters.